Behold, you stand at a threshold where every fiber of your being hums with purpose, where your very act, the one you just committed, becomes a turning point, not just for you, but for them a signal flare in the fog of their complacency. They thought tomorrow would follow the same script. They wrote, but what you just did rearranges the pages and forces a new narrative. You are not just breaking expectations. You are reauthoring their memory of you. Tonight, they will whisper your name differently. Tomorrow, they will recount your move with a tremor in their voice. What you just did will rewrite their history. They won't forget. This is not a soft awakening. This is not a quiet nudge in the dark. This is seismic. When you step forward, you crack foundations. When you acted, you tore open illusions. They're illusions of entitlement. They're illusions of containment. The narrative they constructed around you will shatter like shards underfoot. The path they imagined you would walk is now fractured. The story they rehearsed in their heads is now disrupted. What you just did echoes in corridors they built to confine you. Do not fool yourself. They will resist. They will push back. They will attempt to rewrite this moment too, to minimize it, to pretend your move was an accident or an aberration. They will levy doubts, rumor whispers, distractions. They will try to smother the signal before it spreads. But you have lit a beacon too powerful to extinguish. They will not forget, because what you just did uncovered truths they buried. It exposed fissures they never thought would be visible. It challenged assumptions they leaned on. You removed the veneer and revealed the structure underneath. And that structure now quivers. Brave souls pick their moments wisely. You chose yours. When they told you to stay silent, you cast your voice into the open air anyway. When they told you to wait, you acted. When they told you you had no place, you staked your claim. They will tell stories about this moment. They will spin it, recast it, twist it. They will say this or that, but the core will remain. This was a pivot. This was a defiance. This was a pulse under their ribs they couldn't ignore. What you just did is not just for you. It is for those who hid behind your silence for too long. It is for those who saw you shrink yourself to suit their comfort. It is for all who were taught that stepping forward is dangerous. You offer them permission. You offer them a map. You are the moving proof that this realm of exposure, fear, accountability, it is not death. It is life. And there is glory there. You do not need their validation now. You do not need their praise later. You need their attention. You need their reckonings. You need this to crack skies. You need this to redefine the axis of their story. You need them unsettled, because when they scream back or whisper behind closed doors, they are acknowledging you changed something. They are sizing you. They are chasing your shadow. They are consumed with the question, what might you do next? This is your crucible. This is your proving ground. You stepped in when they assumed you would stay out. You walked across when the bridge was meant to be blocked. The ground tilted under their assumptions because you shifted your weight. The ground will keep tilting. Let grief come. Let fear come. Let doubt come. These are visitors. They will knock at your door. But do not entertain them at the hearth. Do not give them voice. They can whisper, but you remain. You can feel the tremors in your bones, yes, and let that tremor remind you of the magnitude of what you've done. Let that trembling be not weakness, but resonance. For you have cracked a mirror. The reflection they see now is unshielded. They see you raw. They see you awake. And that sight, that exposure, is potency. Because secrets die in daylight, lies wilt when confronted. Systems built on shadow cannot withstand full view. They will not forget, because in their retelling, your act becomes legend. In their minds, they will replay your moment over and over, wondering how it happened, what that instant felt like, how you overturned inertia. You will live in their memory. Your story now becomes tension. Every next action matters. Every breath you take, every word you speak, every quiet move you make becomes readable. This exposure comes with responsibility. But that responsibility is your power. It means they are watching. They are listening. Forge your path forward with unflinching eyes. Do not hesitate. Do not self-moderate for comfort. You are no longer their ghost. You are no longer their silence. You are a force they cannot silence. Mirror the intensity of your first act in all that follows. Let your integrity be so loud that they cannot distort you. Let your resolve be so measured that they cannot skim your edges. Let your consistency be so relentless that any attempt to erase this moment must contend with the fullness of what follows. They thought they knew your boundaries. They thought they had you figured. What you just did exposed that their knowledge was shallow. Now, you widen the distance between what they thought was possible and what is real, and that gap becomes your domain. Do not shrink in their glare. Do not soften under their gaze. Stand larger. Even when invisible to them, stand at your full measure. Every act, however small, becomes ink in the rewrite. Every choice becomes signal. Even when silence calls you, answer with composure, not retreat. Yes, they will try to reclaim narrative. They will try to suffocate this signal with noise. They will try to surround it with lies. But you planted seeds they can't uproot. You opened a crack in the ground beneath their fortress. Now gather your forces. Now bring your clarity. Now hold your ground. Let them feel unsettled. Let their certainty crack. Let their authority shudder. Because you have sent forth a tremor too deep to deny. And that tremor is your statement. And that statement becomes a new axis in their story. The moment when the current can no longer drag you backward. Be mindful. This exposure demands stamina. This exposure demands armor, but not armor of hiding. Armor of truth, armor of resilience, armor of presence, armor of knowing that they will flinch before you even touch them again. Armor of the certainty that nothing they muster can unmake what you already did. You are charged now with sustaining this shift. Their memory is incomplete. Their retelling will be faulty. That is your invitation, to show up again and again, to reveal beyond their capacity to rewrite, to anchor new truths, to live in such presence that their future attempts to distort grow more frail. In time, they will look back at the history before your act and see it now in the dimness. They will remember the static complacency, the half-truths, the lines never crossed. They will contrast it with what came after, with you, and history will be judged in two acts, before the moment and after. What you just did draws the line. They won't forget. Stand ready. They will challenge you. They will spin. They will rage. They will try to drown your signals and counterattacks. But you have in your chest a fire now lit. You have in your limbs intention now encoded. You have opened a breach in the wall built to contain you. Let your next move be rigorous. Let your next move be calibrated. But let it always carry weight. Let it always carry clarity. Let it always carry the pulse of this moment. They will not forget, because you have altered their timeline. Their memory of you will change. Their boundaries will reconfigure. Their expectations will recalibrate. They will walk forward with new caution. They will wonder what else is inside you. Let them live in the tension of appearance and possibility. Let them rethink every assumption they had about you. Let them chase your ghost, wondering how substantial you will prove to be. Stay unshakable. And to you I say, carry this moment wisely. Never forget what you kindled. Let it echo in your morals. Let it echo in your habits. Let it echo in what you now choose to protect and pursue. You have changed the game. Now play with honor, with ferocity, with presence. What you just did is the spark. Do not allow it to flicker. Feed it with daily integrity. Guard it with discipline. Expand it with courage. Let it grow beyond them. Let them remember your act as the warp in their complacency. They will not forget. Let that knowledge be your anchor. Let the weight of their memory be your fuel. Walk forward. Your story is now larger than your fear. Your act no longer temporary. Your exposure is your power. And history, theirs and yours, will bear your mark. They will never forget. They will never forget because now, whether they admit it or not, they see the horizon differently. What once stretched out ahead of them as predictable terrain has now become uncertain, reshaped by your will, your defiance, your presence. You didn't just take a step, you reshaped the ground with it. They will walk differently now. They will speak your name differently. You have become a new variable in their equation, one they never accounted for, and that is why they will not forget. You are no longer the silent figure in the background. You are no longer the tolerated shadow. You are the surge, the shock, the undeniable shift in air pressure before the storm breaks. You are the moment the mask cracks and the truth stares back. They can't place you back in the container they once built for you. That box is splintered, its corners broken, its edges too small now for who you've become. You broke it the moment you acted, and they saw it. Everyone saw it. Now the silence they once wrapped around you has become their burden. Now they are the ones scrambling to understand. What gave you the right? What gave you the strength? How did you do it? And what more are you capable of? Their minds echo with questions they'll never speak aloud, because in those questions is the admission that you now live in a different dimension of power. A dimension they can no longer control. You must understand. Your impact didn't come from noise, from chaos, from spectacle. It came from precision. You moved with the quiet force of a tectonic shift. The ground didn't scream when it moved, but the mountains formed in its wake tell a story older and more powerful than any shout. You became that story. Quiet, deliberate, permanent. And that permanence is what they can't erase. You do not owe them anything. Not closure, not explanation, not justification. What you gave them was clarity. A brutal clarity that pierces illusion. You are the consequence of their underestimation. You are the mirror they tried to avoid. You are the question they can't answer, the variable that breaks their entire system. And the most dangerous part of all? You're just getting started. There is a fire now burning in you, not of rage, but of resolve. The kind that sharpens, the kind that doesn't burn out but forges. And with each moment you move forward, that fire shapes you into something greater, something heavier, something impossible to ignore. You no longer speak for approval. You speak for truth. You no longer act for applause. You act because history is being written in real time, and you refuse to be written out. Exposure, they say, is a risk. But they forget. Exposure is also illumination. And you, standing now fully seen, are not shrinking. You are rising. Under the full weight of their gaze, you are not dimming your flame. You are feeding it. Let them look. Let them watch. Let them attempt to decipher you, contain you, decode you. They will fail, because what you are now cannot be simplified. What you are now cannot be boxed. You are living proof that they were wrong, not just once, but systematically, thoroughly, chronically wrong. Wrong about you, wrong about your limit, wrong about your silence. And the cost of that mistake is this moment, this exposure, this rewriting of everything they believe to be solid. You are the tremor in their foundations now. The sooner they accept it, the sooner they'll understand the new world you've created. You owe it to no one to soften your edge. You do not need to dilute your presence to soothe those who never saw you clearly. Keep your tone sharp. Keep your walk heavy. Keep your truth unedited. Their discomfort is not your concern. Their memory of you is already warped by your rise. Now let that memory burn itself into their bones. This is not about revenge. This is not about punishment. This is about reclamation. This is about lifting back the veil and saying, without apology, I was always here. You just never looked deep enough. Now they see, and now they can't unsee. That is the beauty of exposure. The truth, once revealed, becomes the standard. No matter how hard they try to bury it again, it has already been witnessed. It has already left its mark. They thought your silence was agreement. They thought your restraint was surrender. What they failed to see was the discipline behind your stillness, the fire behind your calm, the power in your pause. And now, when you finally moved, not in chaos but in calculation, they were unprepared. The moment dropped like a blade, and they're still reeling. Let them reel. Let them grasp for explanation. Let them scramble to edit history. None of it changes what happened. None of it undoes the power of what you did. You moved with purpose. You disrupted with meaning. And in doing so, you didn't just change the story. You became the story. Carry this truth carefully. Let it humble you, but never shrink you. Let it remind you, not everything worth doing is easy. Not everything worth saying is safe. But this is necessary. You step forward so others could find the strength to follow. You exposed the rot so the rebuilding could begin. And most importantly, you chose to be seen, fully, wholly, and without apology. They will never forget you, not because you demanded attention, but because your presence was undeniable. Your voice didn't echo. It stayed. It settled into their bones, into their memory, into their future. And whether they love you or fear you, one thing is now certain. They can no longer ignore you. From this day forward, every step you take is under a brighter light. Let that light reveal you. Let it show the discipline you live by. Let it show the principles that shape you. Let it show that this exposure, this unveiling, was never a one-time event. It was the beginning of something unstoppable. You are no longer the one waiting to be called on. You are the call. You are no longer waiting for the invitation. You are the arrival. Your energy now pulls gravity. It bends expectations. It redefines what is possible. They can no longer predict your moves because you've broken the frame they placed you in. Now, they must rebuild. Not the world, but their understanding of you. Let your every word carry the echo of what they missed. Let your presence make them wish they had paid attention sooner. Let your silence be heavier than their noise. You are no longer fighting to be heard. You are the frequency. And they, finally, are listening. They were never ready for this level of exposure, not because it was sudden, but because it was true. And truth, when revealed in full, leaves nothing untouched. You didn't just walk into the light, you became it. And now they must adjust their eyes or live in blindness. But either way, you're done hiding. You're done waiting. You are forward-facing, future-built, flame-wrapped, stone-rooted. You are exactly what they tried to overlook, and now they never will again. Let the silence stretch for a moment, not because you lack something to say, but because the weight of what you've already done is still reverberating through them. That's what real impact feels like. Not instant applause, not hollow approval, but stunned recognition, a recalibration of reality, an undeniable truth that slips under their skin and settles into their memory. They'll carry this moment like a splinter they can't remove. And every time they forget what you're capable of, that splinter will remind them. You didn't just pierce their expectations, you redefined their thresholds. What they believed was unshakable has begun to shift. What they assumed was theirs by default is now contested ground. What they thought was your ceiling has now been revealed as your launch pad. And the most sobering part for them, you did it without permission, without waiting, without asking. They won't say it out loud, but deep down they know the world after this moment is different. Their plans no longer stretch forward, untouched. Their grip is no longer absolute. Their control, once assumed, is now questioned. And that shift, that fracture, it started with what you just did. You must understand the power in that, the magnitude. This wasn't just rebellion. This wasn't just courage. This was clarity. You didn't move blindly. You saw it all. The cost, the risk, the exposure, and you chose to step anyway. That choice alone has more force than 1,000 words. And now, your steps echo through their systems, through their structures, through their sleep. You walk now in a light they can't dim. You operate in a field they never controlled. You exist at a frequency they can't filter. And because of that, they are scrambling. Not because you shouted, but because your silence now holds weight. Not because you attacked, but because your presence now pierces deeper than their defense. This is what they were never ready for. A version of you that doesn't flinch. A version that doesn't shrink to be digestible. A version so rooted in truth that even their most elaborate narratives can't distort it. You have stepped beyond being tolerated. You have entered the realm of being undeniable. And now, you are the page in their story they cannot skip. Every time they try to erase you, your shadow will remain. Every time they try to replace you, your imprint will linger. Every time they try to rewrite this history, the memory of this act, the exposure, the fracture, the shift, will rise again. This is your dominion now. Not just the moment, but what follows. Every breath you take beyond this point must be intentional, not performative, not for display, but for impact. Because the eyes that once overlooked you now follow you. The voices that once ignored you now echo yours. And the world that once resisted your presence now rearranges itself in response to your pressure. Let them sit with their confusion. Let them stew in their disbelief. Let them doubt what they've witnessed. Because the truth doesn't need their belief to be real. And impact doesn't need applause to be eternal. You've cracked open something deeper than fear. You've awakened the part of them they buried long ago, the part that knows what it feels like to be seen without control, to be vulnerable in the face of truth, to be exposed without defense. You've done what most never dare to do, become visible without permission. They won't forget, because now they are haunted, not by fear of what you've done, but by the possibility of what you might still do. And that uncertainty, that question mark hovering over every interaction, that is like the quiet revolution you've begun, one they cannot predict, one they cannot contain. There is power in this space, this in-between, after the act, before the retaliation. There's a breath here, a moment, and in that breath you must build, because exposure is not just revelation, it is responsibility. Now that they've seen you, the world waits. What will you do next? How will you carry this momentum? How will you wield this influence? And make no mistake, influence is exactly what you've earned. Not the shallow kind that demands attention, but the real kind, the rare kind, the kind that reshapes conversations long after you've left the room, the kind that lives in whispers, in warnings, in stories told quietly but often. You are now the subject of those stories. You've become a reference point. Remember what they did. Be careful. Look what happened last time. You are no longer a footnote. You are the pivot. They will come, of course, with questions, with tests, with pressure. That's the nature of exposure. When the light touches something previously unseen, it becomes a target. But do not confuse attention with vulnerability. You are not fragile. You are focused. You are not under threat. You are the threat. And the more they try to decipher your steps, the further you move from their reach. Let them guess. Let them wonder. Let them invent stories to explain what you did. It doesn't matter. You know the truth. And the truth, once revealed, doesn't require validation. It simply is. Now walk forward, not as someone recovering from the storm, but as the storm itself. This is what they never prepared for. Not just your rise, not just your act, but your endurance, your ability to carry the weight of being known, truly known, and to still keep moving with grace, with purpose, with fire. Many can spark, few can sustain, but you were built for this, not by chance, not by luck, but by experience, by silence turned strength, by rejection turned resolve, by invisibility turned clarity. They won't forget you because they can't. You have lived too loud now in their memory. You have carved your signature too deep into their timeline. You have become part of the structure, the blueprint, the foundation they thought they had mastered. And no matter what they build next, your influence will be in the walls. Remember this, power does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it waits, sometimes it simply remains. You have remained. You were supposed to break. You didn't. You were supposed to vanish. You didn't. You were supposed to fold under pressure. You became pressure. Now take this moment, this silence, this breath, this echo, and let it sharpen you. Let it remind you that you don't return to who you were. That version of you no longer fits. Let it remind you that visibility comes with weight, and you wear it like armor now. They wanted you gone. You became permanent. They wanted you forgotten. You became unforgettable. They wanted you silent. You became the standard. They wanted you invisible. You became the mark they measure against. So no, they won't forget. Because what you just didn't just change a moment, it changed them. Now finish what you started.